Welcome to the Café des Artistes. We are lucky to have with us Christopher West and John Waters in a conversation in and around the themes of Christopher's new book called Fill These Hearts. We just left a really interesting presentation, very provoking presentation, and what he said there was we need people to help reawaken our interest in desire, witnesses that help point us to what we're really looking for in life. And I find in these two guys over this course of this past year that very fact, their interest in specifically music, desire, longing, these themes that have come out, and I think they could be a big help to us, especially in light of Christopher's newest book. I was lucky enough to be on an email exchange between the two of them, and I felt like I was, looking through a window of like a great conversation. So it's been my privilege and honor. So I want to turn it over to Christopher to give a little background on why he chose to write this book at this time, and specifically in your interest in music and desire.
I'll begin with a story that I tell in the book. I remember I was probably 7 or 8 years old, and I was lying in my bed, falling asleep, and as I would always do, I had the radio on, and Bruce Springsteen came on, Born to Run. And something happened in my soul at the end of this song. If you know the song, Bruce Springsteen, he just opens his rib cage at the end of this tune with this cry of his heart. And I can't sing like the boss, but it went something like this. It was like, whoa, whoa, oh, 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 whoa, oh, 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 oh. And something happened in my soul. It's like the crack in the ceiling in my bedroom opened up, and I was just staring at something ginormous in the universe, and something was rumbling through my soul. 30 years later, Bruce Springsteen explained what happened to me. The music of U2 and Bruce Springsteen make up the soundtrack of my life, pretty much. So I was thrilled out of my gourd in 2005 when Bruce Springsteen was inducting U2 into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And here's what Bruce Springsteen said. He said, "A great rock band searches for the same kind of combustible force that fueled the expansion of the universe after the Big Bang. They want the earth to shake and to spit fire. They want the sky to split apart and for God to pour out." Now, listen to that. A great rock band, he says, wants the sky to split apart and for God to fall out. That's what happened to me when I was 8 years old and I heard Born to Run. It's like the sky opened up and God fell down. It's the incarnation. Is it not a cry for the incarnation, for God to come down? And then he says, he paused a bit sheepishly, and he says, it's embarrassing to want and expect so much from music. Except, he says, sometimes it happens. And I think we can all point to experiences in our lives when maybe a piece of music, maybe a beautiful sunset, maybe a double rainbow all the way across the sky. Have you seen this guy on YouTube who sees the double rainbow? And he's utterly pierced by beauty. And Pope Benedict says that one of the gifts of allowing our hearts to be pierced by beauty is that it awakens desire. We couldn't be talking about this book in a more beautiful context than what we heard from Father Cameron and Father Caron. This yearning for the infinite that we all have a taste of, or we wouldn't be here. This quest. And in my book, I lay out the idea that we really have only 3 choices with desire. We will become either an addict, a stoic, or a mystic. Let me explain. An addict is someone who takes his desire for the infinite to something finite. It can't possibly satisfy. Pope Benedict calls this a false paradise. And so we go to this thing we think we want, we get it, it doesn't satisfy, so what do we think we need? More. We go and we get more. Does it satisfy yet? So what do we think we need? More and more and more. I call this the culture's fast food gospel. The promise of immediate gratification for that hunger. But if you eat that fast food, you're going to end up like the guy in the movie Super Size Me, right? You're going to get ill. So then we think desire is the problem. Desire's what got me in trouble, so I'm going to repress the desire so I don't get burned anymore. That's Stoicism. It's not Christianity. The mystic, in the Christian sense of the term, is the one who takes his desire for the infinite to the infinite and comes to see in all the pleasures of the world not an idol to worship, but a kind of sacrament that's meant to point us to the infinite. And this is the journey we are called to be on, learning how to redirect our desire according to God's design so we can launch to our destiny of infinite bliss. And that's the three-part structure of the book: desire, design, and destiny. When I heard John Waters talk in Rimini on YouTube, I said, I gotta get in touch with this man. I just felt, this man and I, like our hearts are singing the same song. Not to mention the fact that he knows Bono.
And he's going to sing his favorite song right now.
So TJ connected the two of us, and I asked John to read my book, and he gave my book a beautiful endorsement, so I'll turn it over to John.
Thanks very much, Christopher. I hope you can hear me. His voice is much louder than mine. There's a problem in the modern world in that, there's kind of another explanation for everything. There's kind of like a short-circuit explanation in culture, in society, in life, and whatever structure we want to, narrow, reduced structure we want to perceive. There's an explanation within that for everything. So when you feel that, you're told, your attention is drawn not to the meaning of it as Christopher expressed it, but to another one, something more facile, something narrower, something more reduced. I mean, that experience that Christopher had, I had it with a different song when I was about 13 or so. The song was Ride a White Swan by T-Rex. And, when I heard that, it was like the beginning of a new life for me, because this song, there was something utterly mysterious about it that seemed to speak to something utterly mysterious in me. And I wanted to know the man who wrote this song, who sang this song, because it was written and sung in the same way, clearly nobody else could sing this song, apart from Mark Bolan. You needed his voice to sing it. But he was singing a part of me. And I recognized this, even though I couldn't tell you what the song was about. It seemed to come from, I still can't tell you what the song was about. But it still does it to me, pretty much. But when you're a teenager and you're listening to a culture that explains to you these things in terms of certain kind of concepts that might be to do with fashion, youth, hipness, all of this stuff is coming at you from an industry, is coming at you from a culture of kind of instant gratification, and it's all packaged within that. So you never actually see the artist, really. You never see the guy in the room with the guitar, the small box room, maybe a hotel room, and it's just him and his suitcase and a guitar, and he writes this song out of here. And then he sends it off around in the wires and all the paraphernalia of the industry, and it reaches your heart in your small room, in your box room. And you pick it up as he intended it, as it emerged from him. But the meaning has been changed. Now you pick it up. It's not that you don't know it, you do, but you can't speak it. It belongs to your heart. And you think you've misunderstood it, maybe. Because nobody else mentions this. Nobody else tells you that this is what the song is. You never hear him say it because maybe he's afraid to say it. Maybe sometimes an artist has the courage and he becomes kind of, So there's a problem. The devil's music. And that's a real issue because, I was in Miami the other night and I spoke, and before I spoke, there were some bands played. And they were actually, what really shocked me was that they were good. Because you don't expect Christians to be good at rock and roll. They used to be good at it, It used to be, and the fact that actually we've found that language, it's almost like we have to cross a line to play the music, in a certain sense, in our culture. We have to cross a line to do it. And we haven't got the language to reconcile that side of the line with this side of the line. And so we play two games. We play two roles. And what I like about this book, Christopher, is he's written a book which actually is part of a process of removing that line, of restoring this music back, putting it back to where it belongs, in the hearts of men, in the authentic desire of men, not as expressed in a materialistic way or a consumerist way or a self-indulgent way, but a desire for something absolute, infinite. Because you couldn't write great music without having that. You can't write great music by imitation. You can't by just saying, lots of people try to do it. I'm influenced by this band, so I write. But it's the desire. It's the added value that the subjective heart of the human being brings to that tradition that makes us surprised and makes us wake up and makes us say, whoa, what's that? And that's what rock and roll is. It's that, whoa, what is that? And this book then, we're at an early stage in this, like, for trying to find a language to break that line, to break that boundary. And that's what I love about this book, that it's really part of that it's for the, I can't think of another book that does this so successfully, or even attempts it so successfully. That it actually has a knowledge, an intimacy with both the nature of the desire and the nature of the culture, because you do need to be a bit of a double agent in this rock and roll world. You do need to kind of understand both, and it's really hard to actually reconcile both. And this book is the beginning, not just in relation to rock and roll, but in relation to lots of other stuff as well.
Can I pick up on that point
Sure.
for a moment? What we're trying to do here is find the sweet spot, what we call the sweet spot between the sacred and the secular. And I'll give you a demonstration, again to refer to Bruce Springsteen, pardon me. But he sings, everybody's got a hungry heart, right? Mick Jagger can't get no satisfaction. This guy's looking, right? He tries and he tries and he tries. We have a song to sing as Catholics to Bruce Springsteen and to Mick Jagger. And it goes like this. If you know it, sing along. You satisfy the hungry heart with gift of finest wheat. Come give to us, O saving Lord, the bread of life to eat. Do you see the sweet point there? Everybody's got a hungry heart. I can't get no satisfaction. You satisfy the hungry heart with a bread come down from heaven. I mean, this is the Christian proposal in a nutshell. That there is a banquet that corresponds to the hunger. That there is a wedding feast. And when Jesus tells the people to go evangelize, he says, go into the main streets and invite everyone to the wedding feast. And we've been so afraid as Christians of our desires, because true enough, they get us in trouble. But there's this very important line attributed to St. Augustine that I want us to just ponder for a moment. He says this: those who are lost in their passion are less lost than those who have lost their passion.
Approved.
What does he mean, though? I mean, they're both lost. Those who go with their hunger to the fast food are lost. Those who repress their hunger are lost. They're both lost. But why are those who are going to the fast food less lost? Why is the addict closer to the mystic than is the stoic? Because he's in touch with the hunger. He's gone to the wrong place, but at least he feels the hunger. And isn't this why it was the sinners and the prostitutes, the addicts, who came running to Jesus? It wasn't the religious do-gooders. And we mustn't be afraid of desire. We must go to the depth of desire. I say in my book, what is needed to live the Christian life is not the death of desire, but depth of desire.
And the Pope goes on to also say something about we need a
pedagogy of desire. Please read his address, which Father Caron quoted from November 7th, 2012. He says, Pope Benedict says, what we need in the church today is a pedagogy of desire. Why? Because people think, he says, that Christianity is about suffocating desire. Pope Benedict says, no, it's not about suffocating desire. It's about awakening desire and bringing it to its true heights. Christ came into the world not to suffocate desire. The first words of Christ in the Gospel of John, do you know what they are? What do you want, or what are you looking for? Bono still hasn't found what he's looking for, but he's looking. He's looking, and we all need to be on that search.
The first time I came across Christopher was in one of his books about Pope John Paul's Theology of the Body. And that was a real educative book for me because, even though I was on a journey, which you could say back, there were certain things that I had lots of I didn't want to look at. I didn't want to look at certain rules. I didn't want to look at certain strictures because I thought they didn't make sense. Not that I was afraid of not being able to obey them. I can't, that's a different story. It's that I thought they didn't make sense. And Christopher's book took me through John Paul's Theology of the Body and led me into right to the very edge of that, right to the very heart of it, right to the most, what I thought had been the most implausible of these rules, and told me why they were the way they were. And that fundamentally, he actually woke me up for the first time that the only law is this one. It's here. It's walking around every day.
It's a book I hope that you can give to anyone, atheist, believer, Catholic, Protestant, to just engage in the conversation about why do we have these longings and what are they for. I think if we can learn how to get in touch with people's thirsts, with this idea that we all thirst for something. You can enter into a conversation with an atheist, you can enter into a conversation with a gay activist, and you can say, guess what? I feel that thirst too. I feel that ache too. I feel that cry of my heart too. And if we can be in solidarity with all of humanity, which we can be, this is our solidarity. What kind of beings are we? We are the kind of beings that thirst for something more. That's the common denominator. And if we can show we're not going out into the world to impose some moral code on the world, we're going out into the world to say, I thirst with you. And let's now, maybe we can enter into conversation about, is there a hope for a satisfaction of this thirst? I'll close with this thought. This is from one of my favorite authors, Father Simon Tugwell. He says this, our appetites need to be controlled in this fallen world because they're out of tune, out of harmony with our need for God. And this has been really what has been the strong emphasis, I think, probably in a lot of our upbringings, Catholic education, self-control, self-mastery, control your desires, absolutely, we need that. Why? Because our desires are out of tune with God's song, if you will. But he adds this, control, however, is only a temporary measure. The ideal is for us not to control our appetites at all, but ultimately to allow them full reign in the wake of an uncontrolled appetite for God. G.K. Chesterton put it this way, the more I considered Christianity, the more I found that while it had established a rule and an order, the chief aim of that order was to give room for good things to run wild. Because it is true. I call these rock and rollers twisted mystics. There's something mystical in what they're singing about, but it's gotten twisted up. But listen to the truth in this song. Come on, baby, go and make it happen. Take the world in a love embrace. Fire all of your guns at once and explode into space. 'Cause like a true nature's child, we are born to be wild. I want to touch the sky and I'm never gonna die. Born to be wild. When that thing that Steppenwolf is talking about is redirected from the fast food to the wedding feast, that's Christian mysticism. not taking our desire to go wild horizontally, you're going to end up at a frat party. But when we take this desire to infinity, we're on the road to becoming saints and mystics. That's Christianity in a nutshell.
Thank you both very much.